Good morning and welcome to the Frisco High School production of Shattered Dreams, a program designed to educate students, parents, and the community about the serious issue of underage drinking and driving. With Frisco's prom this weekend, the message of this program couldn't be any timelier. Our first speaker is Dr. Mark Gamber. Dr. Gamber was raised in Arlington, Texas. He received undergraduate degrees from Texas A&M University. He attended medical school at the University of North Texas Health Science Center in Fort Worth. He completed an emergency medicine residency at Texas A&M Scott and White Hospital. He became board certified in emergency medicine in 2006 and emergency medical services in 2013. Dr. Gamber has worked at the Medical Center of Plano, a Level 2 trauma center and comprehensive stroke center since 2005. He became the EMS Medical Director for Plano Fire and Rescue in 2007 and the Murphy Fire Department in 2009. Dr. Gamber, his wife Lauren, and children, Ella 10, Lily 8, and Charlie, who is 5, have been residents of Frisco since 2005. Thus, it was with great pride that he became the EMS Medical Director for the Frisco Fire Department in July of 2014.
Thank you. It's an honor to serve the city of Frisco and be here to talk to you today. You know, I have the opportunity to get to speak to different groups of physicians and nurses and firefighters and paramedics. But I got to tell you, I always get the most nervous coming to talk to high school students. And, you know, I think that's a lot because, you know, as a father and representing all the parents in this room, we see the incredible promise that we have. You know, and it's also just because I'm going to be in the parents' shoes in here in a few years. I dropped off 3 kids at Bradshaw Elementary before I came up here. So I truly appreciate the opportunity to come talk to everybody. In your age group, for the seniors in this room, trauma is the thing that's most likely to kill you. It's not a stroke, a heart attack, an infection, cancer. Those are all important diseases, but it's trauma. It's most likely to kill you. It's going to be a car wreck, a motorcycle accident, some other sort of accident. So you have to work together with your family, with your school, to figure out how to keep you as safe as possible. And that's what this is about, is to provide education. I do want to, although the focus here is drinking and driving, that's appropriate because this is incredibly dangerous. I want to focus and broaden that topic a bit to taking any sort of substance in driving and texting and driving. Distracted driving is just as bad as drunk driving. And we've got to push each other to do as good as we can and to not text and drive. But to specifically focus on somebody who's had an accident after drinking and driving, I'm going to talk to you a little further about what you saw in the video here, about what's going to happen to you. In my role as the medical director for the fire department, working with our firefighters and paramedics, we're going to respond to you when you've been in a car wreck. And it's a severe car wreck, as we've seen here. We're going to cut off your clothes. We're going to drill a needle into the bone in your leg or your arm. We're going to put medication in that needle. I'm not sure if you're going to feel it or not, depending on if you're conscious. If your lungs collapsed, we're going to put a tube in your chest to re-expand your lung. And we might put a tube in your lungs also, so that we can breathe for you if you're not breathing. When you get to the hospital, you're going to be in a bright room. There's going to be 20 strangers in there. They're going to put a catheter in your bladder. They're going to be shouting. If you're awake, it may be scary. Everybody there is trying to help you. And we're going to do our best to resuscitate you. Sometimes we're successful, and sometimes we're not. Your parents are going to be invited to the family room. And speaking as a parent, you don't want to be invited into that room. I'm going to come meet you in there, as the doctor in the video did. And I'm going to talk to your parents. Can you imagine that conversation that I'm going to have with your parents? Hi, I'm Dr. Gamber. There's been an awful wreck. Your child has sustained severe injuries. We did everything we could. We had a great team working together. We tried. the child has died. See, we've been taught to, in medical school and residency, use the word death early, not to use words like passed on, so that we're definitive in people understanding what has exactly happened. After 15 years, I still can't get used to that word as much as I have to say it, and I say it almost every day, unfortunately, that I work. So let's do everything we can so that I never have that conversation with your parents. If you don't die, because we are able to save some people, and some people do okay, and some people have long-term injuries, and I think that goes unrecognized sometimes. I see teenagers who are in nursing homes because of spinal cord injuries, because of traumatic brain injuries, and those patients come back to the emergency department, and sometimes I see them again and again. So there is a lifetime of sequelae from traumatic injury. There's also the families of the affected. I worked on New Year's, and a drunk driver hit a Suburban. Grandparents were driving children home, multiple severely injured and one death. Imagine being the driver that killed that child and badly hurt others. I worked in a car wreck. There was another car wreck a few years ago when I was working, in which a man that had been drinking drove through an intersection, failed to stop, hit a minivan from a family leaving church and decapitated half the people in the minivan, and the rest of them died when they arrived in the hospital. So there's the effect that you have on families, even if you're not injured. I've taken care of people who survived the car wreck. They were intoxicated when they were driving, but they killed their best friend in the passenger seat. And I still have a young man who comes back to the hospital to bring us lunch as part of him working through that process that he'll never forget of what happened to his friend. These are difficult examples to hear, but this is my opportunity to talk to you and to try and help keep you safe as a parent, as a physician, and as somebody who lives in this community. You have so much promise. This is the start of the next phase of a wonderful life ahead of you with college and work. Please stay safe and take care of each other. Watch out for each other. I know how much we all care about you. Thank you.
I remember my senior year when Shattered Dreams came to my school, and I remember one thing from it, and that was death. The last 2 days we've seen the destruction that comes along with drinking and driving, and we've seen our fellow classmates ripped from our classrooms and replaced with an obituary and a cross. We've seen death, but I'm not here to talk about death today. Because to me, death is not the worst punishment you can face. See, death is easy because once you're dead, everybody else just goes on living. And eventually everybody else just moves on with their own lives. Death is an easy way out. To me, there's a punishment tremendously worse than death, and that is imprisonment. But to truly understand, you'd have to know a little bit about my sister. See, my older sister, Alicia, was a typical 28-year-old. She lived on her own, she had a boyfriend, a great job, and like many people in their 20s, they like to let loose on the weekend. And she was really living the life that she always wanted to. Independence, freedom, and fun. However, that's different. Now she can't work. Now she can't live on her own. And now she can never be independent again. Because one night she decided that she would just have a couple. And one night she decided that she was okay to drive. And one night she got behind the wheel. That night, her life and my family's life changed forever. And she's here today to show you the effects that you don't always get to see in Shattered Dreams, the effects of drinking and driving.
It's going on 7
walked, moved my toes, or even used my hands. I haven't showered, dressed myself, or even gotten out of bed without help. And I wasn't always crippled up in a wheelchair. I was once 5'7", living an independent life, but being independent is something I would never have again because I made a mistake that would forever change my life and my family's forever. On August 10, 2009, I chose to drink and drive. It was a Monday. I got up, went to work, came home, walked my dog, not knowing that would be the last time I would ever be able to walk him. I decided to call up some friends so we could get together and have a few drinks. And as I went to pick up my friend, something told me not to go, but I didn't listen. A couple of hours and a few drinks later, I went home. And then I decided to get behind the wheel and go surprise my boyfriend. I never made it. At 9:30, my parents got a call saying that I had been in a horrible accident and was being airlifted to the hospital. My car had flipped 4 times, ejecting me 150 feet, face down, breaking my neck. After an 8-hour surgery to prepare for what that doctor said was the worst neck he had ever seen, and because of the severity of the injury, they had to screw 7 pounds of metal around my head, literally 2 screws in my forehead, 2 screws in the back. Weekly, they would take a screwdriver and tighten those. At first, when I was told I was paralyzed, I didn't get it. I thought, okay, 2 months I'll be back. Then it was Christmas. Christmas came and went. And then I thought for sure after a year I'd be back on my feet. It took me about 1.5 years to realize it was permanent. For the first months, I had nonstop visitors. My friends would come up, hang out, even sleep over. But then their lives continued on, and I was learning how to feed myself, brush my teeth, things that I used to take for granted. Easy stuff. Now the littlest things someone had to do for me. I will never walk down the aisle. I will never have my own children. I was in and out of rehab for 2 years. And my friends were getting married, having kids, and I was 30, about to move back home with my parents. And now I will always have to live with someone. I will never be able to take care of myself by myself. Oh, and the boyfriend that I was going to see of 3 years, about 6 months in, he just couldn't handle it. Never talked to me again. I am now a burden on my family. I need help 24/7. My parents literally rearranged their lives for me, selling their house, building a house now wheelchair accessible, and eventually I will live with my little sister and be a burden on her. I am now forever paralyzed. That is something that will never get better. There is not a cure, there is not medicine. There is nothing I can do to fix this. It's forever. And it sucks, it's hard, it's depressing, and it's because I made the mistake of drinking and driving.
It was really hard to look at her situation 6 years ago and try to find the meaning of it. What was the purpose in this, for what we're going through, for what she continues to go through. But now this could be the meaning. Yes, with Shattered Dreams you see the reenactment, but this is our reality. Maybe today you just listen and you remember her before you get behind the wheel. Just because it's expensive to take an Uber doesn't mean it's not worth it. Just because it's embarrassing to have to ask somebody for a ride doesn't mean you should be ashamed to. And just because you might offend your friend by taking their keys away doesn't mean you shouldn't. Because every day I wish somebody would have done that for my sister. We're not up here today to tell you to think that you're never going to take a drink we're realistic and we know that that's going to happen. We're just asking you, if you do drink, do not drive. Call a friend, stay at the party, or even call your parents. Yes, you might get a lecture and you might get grounded, but I guarantee you being grounded for a few weeks is better than being grounded for the rest of your lives. Thank you.
Our next guest speaker is Chaplain Randy Creech with the Frisco Police Department.
Thanks, Madison. Good morning. And a special good morning to my old friends in the class of 2016. I do have the great privilege of serving the Frisco Fire and Police Department as their chaplain. My role is to provide emotional and spiritual support to these men and women as they do their jobs well in this community. And my goal is also to help these men and women to have a long career, a long, healthy career. And a lot of times we'll have conversations, and sometimes I'll be on a ride out with them, and I'll experience a situation where there's a suicide or a motor vehicle accident or domestic dispute or some other conflict. And my question is often to myself, and I'll ask them, do you think abuse of alcohol or drugs were involved in that situation? And they look at me and go, of course. That's the reality. We all make choices. And there are times when those choices positively impact the lives of others, and obviously there are times when those choices not so much. Most of you have viewed the scene from the old movie Gladiator, where Maximus is exhorting his troops as they go into battle. And as he finishes, he says to them, what you do in life will echo in eternity. That's a line worth memorizing. The first opportunity I remember where somebody's choices in this life deeply affected my family's life for decades to come when I was in the 3rd grade. So one Sunday morning, the phone rings. Of course, we only had one and it was attached to the wall. My dad picks up, and I knew immediately that something was terribly, terribly wrong. He gives me the look, stop making noise, be quiet now, I can't hear. As he got off the phone, he relayed the information that he had received to the rest of my family, my sister and I, that 3 members of our family had been killed the night before by a man that made a decision that will echo for decades to come. They were coming home from a birthday party to celebrate, and this gentleman ran a stop sign and T-boned them and forever changed the life of my family. I remember seeing the grainy photos in a newspaper of the crash scene. It looked like an IED had gone off inside of that car. As an 8-year-old boy, it was incomprehensible. I didn't understand. There's a young man in the colony this week that saw it firsthand as he's driving home with watching his parents on their motorcycle in front of him. He saw someone intoxicated take out the 2 people he loved most right before his eyes. What that gentleman did to my family that night has echoed for 5 decades. And you know, I ask myself sometimes, why do people make choices in this life that have such destructive consequences? And if I'm honest, I have to ask myself that question. Why have I? Why do I? As a college student, I was confronted with the words of a man that lived in the 1600s. He was a mathematician and a physicist and a philosopher, and he said this. He said, there is a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man that cannot be filled by any created thing, but only by God, the Creator. So many things in our lives are epic fail. Whether it's abusing alcohol or relationships or events that we think will bring everything that we hope they would be. Rarely do they. Nothing seems to be able to fill that God-shaped vacuum. So as you're sitting here this morning, and a lot of you, your thoughts are on what you've got to do between now and tomorrow night. And you're 2 months away from what you're going to do the day after you walk the stage, receive your diploma, and head out into the rest of your life. This is way bigger than drinking, driving, or drugs, or anything else. Because what you do in this life will ultimately affect eternity. And I encourage you, what is it that you are trying to put in a place that will never fit? Because ultimately, that's where all of our decisions originate, in that place. Thank you.
Throughout the day yesterday, the Grim Reaper entered the classroom every 15 minutes and selected a student victim, who then became part of a group known as the Living Dead. When Shattered Dreams first originated in the mid-1990s, the 15-minute time period represented how often someone was killed in an alcohol-related accident. As each student was pulled from a class, a police officer read the student's obituary that was written by their parents. At the end of the school day, the Living Dead, crash victims, and drunk driver were all taken on an overnight retreat. The retreat was filled with many activities, including the writing of goodbye letters to the students' family and friends. Each student wrote a letter about what they would say to their loved ones had they actually been killed in an alcohol-related accident. 2 of the students are going to share their letters this morning.
Dear Mom, Dad, and Clovers, participating in this Shattered Dreams program has been an eye-opening experience. I've had a lot of fun, but I've also felt a lot of sadness as well. Now, I've been asked to write someone a goodbye letter, and compared to all the challenges I've faced tonight, this will by far be the greatest obstacle yet. Thinking about the last conversation, the last words, the last memories I would share with each of you seems unreal. It forces me to picture a life without my foundation, my rock, and my best friends. Mom, if these were my last words to you, I would say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not showing you the appreciation and respect you have far beyond earned. I'm sorry for not thanking you often enough for all the sacrifices you've made and for always putting your husband and kids first. I'm sorry for not making it clear how much I need you in my life and how much you mean to me. Mom, I admire your independence, your work ethic, and your unconditional love no matter how many times I've screwed up. I admire how you always built me up and made sure I know my worth. I admire your ability to be honest about the things that mattered, helping to shape me into the woman I am today. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your selflessness. Thank you for your nurturing. Thank you for helping me recover from heartbreak, for staying up with me all hours of the night when I was sick or sad. For numerous back rubs, head scratches, hugs, and kisses. Your impact on my life is so profound that my love for you is incapable of relaying through words. You're my go-to person, and if this was the last time we spoke, if these were the last words I was able to say, I'd want you to know how much I love you and how grateful I am to have such a fantastic woman as my mother, teacher, and best friend. Dad, you've always been my biggest role model, since before I can remember. I wanted to be just like you. Your opinion of me was always the most important, and disappointing you has always been the worst punishment in my eyes. Thinking about having to say goodbye to someone I look up to so much is surreal. I don't even know what to say. You've always been the logical, headstrong leader of the house. You've always pushed me to achieve my goals and never let me settle for mediocrity. You are my best friend. You are my shelter. You are my role model, and you have made sure to guide me down a path that will ensure my success. You've taught me that it's okay to cry when I'm sad. It's okay to show emotion, but that's not an excuse to be strong, and it's never an excuse to treat others poorly. The life lessons I've learned from you like the importance of integrity, the value that should be placed on family, and the outlook of living life to the fullest are all things that have developed me into who I am. And I want to thank you for the incomparable impact you've had on my life. If these were my last words to you, I would want you to know how amazing you are. I would want you to know how much I appreciate everything you've done for me, and most importantly, I would want you to know the amount of endless love I have for you. You mean the world to me, and I can't picture life without you. And lastly, Clobo. You're my other half, and I consider myself truly blessed to have you as a sister. If I never got to see you again, I want you to know that I'm sorry for the part I played in all of our petty arguments, and for not cherishing the time we had together while I still had the chance. I would want you to know that you are a beautiful, confident, talented, and a kind, smart person who I look up to very much, even though I'm the older one. I would want you to know that you're my best friend, and I would want to thank you for always being there, even when I didn't deserve it. Thank you for always having my back and for never failing to make me laugh. I can honestly say that some of the best memories of my life can be attributed to you. Sister, I love you more than I can express in words. If I have one last thing to say to you, I would tell you to never change. Keep your spunky personality, your honesty, your pureness, and your amazing heart. Keep working hard and following your dreams because you will be great one day, whether it's due to soccer, your career, leading a family, whatever. Being great is what you do. That is who you are. And don't ever lose that or your ability to care and love for everyone. You are an amazing person, and I love you from the bottom of my heart. I love you all, and I couldn't do life without any of you. Family is everything to me, and I never want to have to say goodbye. Each one of you is an extremely special person, and it's impossible to put into words everything I feel for you. I honestly don't even know how to end this letter because the idea of saying goodbye is unfathomable to me. So all I'm going to say is I love you with everything in me, and I hope you know that I've never taken you for granted.
Dear Lauren, yesterday I died of a drunk driving crash. You know, the first thing I thought of when I was being zipped up in that body bag is I was going to miss your lacrosse game. I was especially sad because it was your senior day and I told you I would be there. I never thought I'd be saying goodbye to you until August. You'd be off to Berkeley to play lacrosse, and I'd be off to UT to study to be a doctor. We'd keep our relationship alive despite the distance and the hardship, but we'd get through it. Unfortunately, fate had a different idea in mind. I guess I'll start my goodbye by saying something I've said to you many times. Lauren, from the very bottom of my heart and soul, I love you. You know I try my hardest to be as genuine a person as I can, so you also know I mean every word of that statement. I hope I have filled your life with as much happiness as you have filled mine. I hope that I gave you the same vibrant, bubbly, purely joyful feeling you gave me. I hope that I have shown you that there is happiness out in this big, bright world for you to go find. Unfortunately, despite our plans, I won't be able to go out with you to find it. But you don't need me by your side to find that happiness. I hope that you continue to give others happiness. I hope that you continue to give others joy. I hope you continue to pursue your passions and dreams as vehemently as you always have. I hope you continue to feel beautiful even when I'm not there to remind you. Above all, I hope you continue to be the same Lauren I love so dearly. Please don't change. I've always said that you got me seeing stars brighter than ever. Now when you look up at those stars, I'll be smiling down at you. If it feels like I'm too far away, just search your heart. You'll find me. Love, Evan.
is Jensen, and this is a poem that I wrote. Not a care in the world, then your car starts to swirl. Your mind was a blur, and your words were all slurred. All those drinks led to this, every bottle, every sip. All for one party, one drive, one trip. Not a single dry face will inhabit the place where friends, family, and strangers all mourn for the dangers. All the sad, lonely hands that are sympathetically gripped, all for one party, one drive, one trip. Not a day will go by where your family doesn't struggle not to cry. There's no hour to be seen where you're not stuck in someone's daydream. All the heavy hearts that now have been ripped, all for one party, one drive, one trip. Not a wish on a star that can go very far to undo the loss and all the pain that it caused. All for an accident that happened in a blip, all for one party, one drive, one trip. Not a thing can be said that will bring back the dead, no excuse to be made for such a stupid mistake. All for a night which could have been skipped if it weren't for one party, one drive, one trip.
It's our hope that the Shattered Dreams experience will have a lasting impact on you. We hope you take the impressions, the emotions, and the learning, and that you share it with others while you're in high school and certainly beyond high school as well. We hope that you're the ones who are the examples of making good decisions, not only regarding drinking and driving, but also regarding distracted driving, and that you put your phones away when you get into your car. I certainly hope that I never have to read a real obituary like the ones posted in our hallway. I hope that none of your parents ever have to write one, because no parent should ever have to do that. I'd like to thank our guest speakers and all of the students and staff who've given so much of their time and energy to make this a successful experience. Specifically, I'd like to thank Officer Reese Bay and our Assistant Principal, Ms. Jenna Gates, for all of their hard work. And of course, we need to thank the Frisco Police and Fire Departments and Care Flight. And our broadcast students who were up until all hours of the night last night editing that video. And finally, I want to thank all of you, the students of Frisco High School, for your maturity and your class, and for taking this program so seriously. We're very proud of all of you for the way that you've handled all of this. And Living Dead students will have a brief meeting with parents and officers in the lecture hall immediately following this assembly. And this closes the Shattered Dreams program for 2016. At this time, students are dismissed to class. Thank you.